Aliens. Aliens. Aliens.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
You were telling me before the show, Basil, that you have gotten pumped about the UFO disclosure topic once again.
Yeah.
I don't know why you ever were pumped about it, but
I don't know what happened. I just stopped sort of being the focus of my interest. I mean, there's a lot going on, Cons. Mm-hmm. A lot going on. Some very effective distractions from the UFO topic. But I hadn't listened to Joe Rogan in quite some time. Mm-hmm. But I caught one of his recent episodes with a UFO person.
Was it the one where we quoted the guy with the black cube, or is it a different dude?
Yeah, they talked about the bubbles with the cubes inside.
Yeah, okay, so it's I forget his name. We reported on the guy a couple
we could look it up. It's what's his face, but his interview with Joe Rogan really got me pumped again on UFO stuff. I mean, there is so much more going on than even we really come in contact with, just because, our job includes also paying attention to every detail of the Trump raid and every detail of the COVID situation and every day of so many things. We so rarely get to have the in-depth exploration of the UFO topic. And man, is there some big things happening. So I'm pumped, man, which is why I got pumped on this article that you brought here today.
Yep. All right. This is from the sun.co.uk, and the headline here: world's best ever UFO image, the Calvine photo. I hope I'm saying that right. Is it Calvin? I think it's Calvine. Showing 100-foot craft finally revealed after being hidden for, I don't know, the title goes off into a thing there. So that's it. Okay, let's read the article.
Have you heard of this before, the Calvine image?
Yeah, yes, briefly.
After being hidden for 30 years is what it
so,
says.
And I've known about it, but I think most people dismissed it because it was not a very good photo of it prior. So this is the story.
Okay.
This is the infamous UFO photo dubbed by some as the world's best, as it shows a huge diamond-shaped object pictured flying over the Scottish Highlands. The so-called Calvine photograph, which was for decades considered lost, has finally been uncovered after years of research by academic and journalist Dr. David Clark. I think that's the key here. It's not just some old UFO crackpot out there saying, I found a picture.
Right.
It's an actual guy, an actual academic and journalist. And we'll learn more about him in a second here. Showing what seemed to be a huge angular object flying over the Scottish Highlands with what appears to be a Harrier jet in the distance. The image is an extraordinary piece of the UFO puzzle. It was taken around 9 p.m. on August 4th, 1990, by two hikers on a hillside near Calvine, just off the A9, some 35 miles northwest of Perth in Scotland. The men, whose identities remain unknown to this day, claim they watched the metallic object hovering with a low hum for around 10 minutes, while fighter jets made passes in the distance. As they watched the jaw-dropping scene, the object, which is estimated to have been up to 100 feet long, then is said to have shot off at high speeds straight up into the sky, never to be seen again. But luckily, they seem to capture the moment on camera, snapping 6 photographs of the diamond-shaped craft with a fighter plane in the background. The photos were then given to the Scottish Daily Record newspaper, who in turn passed them to the Ministry of Defence, MOD. But for unknown reasons, the story was never published, and the photos vanished into the black hole of Whitehall. And so began the modern myth of the Calvine photograph, with the images never being seen by the public until now. Dr. Clark, who has worked with the curator for the MOD UFO Files project at the National Archives, and is an associate professor from Sheffield Hallam University, managed to track down the photo by seeking out former RAF press officer Craig Lindsay. Mr. Lindsay had kept a copy of the original photograph as he was the go-between who was liaising
weird liaising.
He's the liaison between the press and the mod when the original story was probed in 1990. He had the original envelope sent by the Daily Record, and inside was one of the original photographs from Calvine.
Ooh.
The ex-RAF man agreed to hand over the photo to Dr. Clark and Vinnie Adams from campaign group UAP Media UK, and it has now been filed in the archives of Sheffield Hallam University. Mr. Adams told The Sun Online, quote, "It's been a privilege to work on this case with such a dedicated team of researchers." Quote, "After 32 years and an intensive investigation, it feels good to be able to show this elusive photograph to the world." End quote.
Oh, so close. 32.
I know. Well, maybe after 30, maybe it's the 33rd year.
In the 33rd year,
yes.
yeah.
He added, quote, "We urge anyone with any information on the identity of the photographer or the case to come forward," end quote. And the photograph has been rediscovered just as UFOs once again take center stage in Washington, D.C. Lawmakers, former servicemen, and intelligence officials are now all speaking more openly about the traditionally fringe topic, including a landmark hearing on Capitol Hill. U.S. officials have acknowledged that there is something in the skies they cannot explain, and the stigma around UFOs is finally being stripped back. And there's a photo here, a black and white photocopy of the original from the National Archives.
I do remember this picture.
Yeah, this is the one I think most people know about, or at least have seen if you've gone down the UFO rabbit trail. But it's such a bad photocopy.
You couldn't even tell what's going on.
Yeah,
it just looks like
no
a
way.
black diamond on a white background.
Right. Yeah, you have no idea. It could have been somebody putting their I don't know, what's a diamond shape like that? It's a little figurine or something in the photocopy machine.
Right.
And it's got some documents here. Much of the Calvine photo legend is built around reports of a big blown up version of the image, which is claimed to have once hung on the walls at the mod's so-called UFO office. The poster-sized photo, however, was allegedly removed mysteriously without a trace. It is a story often told by Nick Pope, who worked to investigate UFOs for the mod in the 90s and worked with Whitehall until 2004, who first revealed the tale in his 1996 book, Open Skies, Closed Minds. Mr. Pope claims the UK asked the US if the photo showed an experimental aircraft, only for the image to be taken away and never seen again. I think that answers the question, by the way.
Right.
And to further add to the mystery, the mod decided to withhold certain details of the case until 2076. I shall be very old in 2076, Basil.
Still before Pfizer wanted to release their documents.
Yeah. Pfizer's like, let the UFO files be released before
if this
data.
timeline was kept, we would know the truth about UFOs before we knew the real information behind the Pfizer studies.
Yes, not fake news, by the way.
Not fake news. They said themselves they would release the information in 2095 or something like that.
Yeah. But this is understood to have been done to protect the names and addresses of those in the file, not as part of some wide-ranging cover-up. The National Archives file included a photocopy of an eerie black and white line drawing, something that only further inflamed the mystery around the case. There's a big map of Scotland there, north of Glasgow. Okay, but with all these questions, what exactly is the angular shape seen in the Calvine photo? Is it an elaborate hoax? A piece of never-before-seen secret technology, or perhaps more outlandishly, an alien spacecraft? We simply don't know for sure, with mod files from the time saying there is no definite conclusion regarding the large object. The craft is theorized to potentially be an experimental U.S. aircraft, possibly the semi-legendary Black Project, the Aurora.
No,
the Aurora.
Boring.
Okay.
Don't bring up the Aurora. It's just a spy plane. Aurora was invented to keep us off the trail of the real crafts.
I don't disagree with you. We'll skip all that. Well, it goes into some history.
Blah, blah, blahs for about 50 paragraphs after that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. There's a lot of things going on. There's stuff going on that I didn't even know about. Now, again, I learned this from a guy on Joe Rogan, embarrassingly. Okay, I admit it. I would prefer to have found it out in other ways, but stuff that I did not even know about. And apparently, Ukraine right now is having like a ton of UFO activity.
Oh, really? Ooh, surprise, surprise.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And
that's where half the stuff that we're sending him, that's where it's going, to the intelligence vehicles.
Yeah,
weapons.
Right. Yeah, it's part of the U.S.'s military aid packages.
Yeah,
we sent them some old, outdated UFO crafts to conduct some things. Our old crummy UFOs, so we can get the taxpayers to pay for some new ones for us.
Makes sense that the U.S., they've been at this for decades, so they have good control of the technology. They can make beautiful art on the side of UK fields with elaborate designs, but now the Ukrainians have it. They're new to the technology, and so they're blasting it all over and they're poking holes in Turkey.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The Turkey sinkholes are just kind of some stray shells from the stray laser blasts from the UFOs we've lent to the Ukrainians. No wonder it's so. No wonder they needed so many billions of dollars.
It only makes sense.
Most of it is taken up by the UFO budget.
That it does kind of. I remember when early on, many years ago, when we were doing this, there was a big article. I can't remember the outlet. Maybe it was like Wired, or it was one of the mainstream outlets, and they had a big article. $50 billion for black projects.
Yes.
And I thought $50 billion. I mean, that's a lot, but that's not a lot. And considering now they're sending, how much have we sent Ukraine? 10?
Well, it's approved for over 50.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, well, let's just move whatever the operations were in the U.S. regarding all that secret technology.
Yeah.
Just move it to Ukraine.
Again, it's the money laundering scheme.
But also, I think Russia probably is pretty advanced in this technology as well. Just my opinion. And so maybe, stationing our posts closer to Russia might be of interest for certain individuals of the breakaway civilization in the U.S. So
this guy was saying that they've even fired on some of them, and they don't think that it's the Russians' technology, because there was one that they spotted and they saw the Russians firing missiles at it. So they're like, whose is this? We don't know whose this is. The Russians are shooting at it.
Just because your low-level military men are shooting at it doesn't mean that
Good point.
Putin rides horses shirtless and UFOs on his weekends.
Yeah. There was one thing the guy said in the interview that kind of gave me a little bit of a chill at my spine. Was he said, there's just this feeling right now. That the weight of the secret of UFOs is too much for like the world to bear.
Well, that's
right
been
now.
A thing. That's been an argument for a long time that the public can't really handle it.
Yeah. And the weight, I mean, he's saying it's the other direction though. Like the weight of the secret.
The intelligence. Yeah.
Yeah. Is too much, and it just has to come out. Like it feels like it's going to happen because they just, everything's going to snap, which I think fits. And the reason it gave me a chill, because I don't know if he's aware of the Great Deception theory that we've talked about for almost a decade now, where, once the time is right, the disclosure acts as like an, false
catalyst.
Christ, peacekeeping type of antichrist type of thing. And, that's kind of how it was before COVID. For me, I actually was preaching in the late 2019 and was sort of struck with this feeling in the middle of it, of just like something big. I don't know what it is. Something's going to change. Everything feels something is something. I kind of like the sermon got really bad after I kind of gave into this thing. Like I was just stricken in the middle of it, like something big is coming, everybody, and I don't know, and is anybody else? And everybody else was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then like 2 months later is when COVID started.
Yeah, you and my wife, by the way, she also had dreams that were sort of in that direction. So,
in that zone. And so that's what when he said that, I'm like, oh, I know the exact feeling that he's talking about. I know I don't personally right now have that feeling about UFOs, but I know the feeling he's talking about. And, things are moving in that direction.
Well, the other thing is the way the infrastructure of our federal government is being, I wouldn't say torn apart, it might be too strong of a word, but at least
the threat is there at least.
Severely challenged, I would say. You play chicken like this with the two sides, somebody might
things start unraveling.
It starts unraveling, and then eventually, maybe, and who knows, maybe the whole Trump thing has to do with this technology, because he was boasting about it allegedly, right? And it's really easy to write a book if you're on the opposite side of the political aisle to be like, look at him. He thinks he's either dispelling secrets or saying things about our technology that we don't even have with, nuclear technology no one's ever seen and all this kind of stuff. Kind of aligns with, maybe Trump was privy to not just the stuff, but he's a time traveler. That's the other one, right? He's a time traveler. Yeah. And Ingerson, what's his name? The guy who wrote the book, The Last President, in 1890 or something like that. Trump, there's a Baron Trump going to the inner Earth. I mean, there's all that weird stuff. There's the airships.
Yeah, it's like a 100-year-old novel or something.
Right. There's the airships that were drawn by, I forgot all the details now. I used to be able to spit all this out, but I haven't done my homework in a little bit with that stuff. And one of the airships that were drawn, that were seen, had a big Trump on it, stuff like that. So, maybe he is privy. Oh, also the Nikola Tesla connection to Trump's uncle. So there's a lot of weird stuff there, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if Trump is spoiling the cover up a little bit in that regard, and maybe that's why they're going after him so much, is he's willing to release this information.
Well, the declassified documents. Does he have UFO related documents that they're trying to get back from him? I mean, he talked about declassifying UFOs. Of course, he talked about declassifying lots of things, of pretty much none of which did he actually do, at least none of the fun ones.
If there was anybody that's going to come out and say the most outlandish thing, if you want plausible deniability, in the mainstream anyway, you let Trump do the revealing, right?
Sure. Yeah. Plausible deniability, right.
She's an alien.
Mm-hmm.
I have proof. I have the documents declassified.
That's funny. All right. Well, anything else?
No. Is there your inspiration for UFO? Are you going to look into a book or a movie or something?
I don't know. Are you
just going to go down some more?
I'm just going to go
pound some more Joe Rogan.
I'm just going to spend some time laying on the ground out here on the compound and just lay there and look up in the sky and see if anything comes down and says hi.
Yeah. On that point, the other day, I'm walking my son. He's, I walk him in a stroll around the neighborhood.
Got him on the leash.
Yes. And, at night, I look up, I check out the skies every night. And by the way, we had a big alignment of like a bunch of planets the other morning. I was up at 4:00 because Keizo was up at 1:50 a.m. and he did not go back to sleep till 5. So my last ditch effort was, hey, I got to walk him. So I was outside at like 4:30 in the morning, and the planets were all lined up. It was very interesting, very beautiful. But a different night, I'm walking, I look up and I see a light moving in the sky and just moving in one direction. And there was a lot of heavy clouds, but it was under the clouds. And usually that's an airplane, right? But this one was smaller than an airplane, and it was moving very fast. And it didn't have the flashing lights. That's the big giveaway for me. If it's an airplane or helicopter, there's usually like flashing lights or the red, blue lights that are flashing. Hang on one second. I'm going to finish the story. Don't cover your one eye like that. What are you doing?
Illuminati, baby.
Illuminati confirmed, baby. So I'm looking, and so I saw the light moving, and I pulled out my phone real quick and got the camera because I just want to at least get it on film. Pull the camera, literally like 2 seconds. Phone, camera, up, gone. Light's gone. I sat there for a few minutes and thought, did it go in the clouds? Was it still moving? Because if it was an airplane or something, then you can, keep track of it. But no, I was up. I stared at the sky for about 5 minutes. Neighbors probably thought I was crazy. But yeah, it was completely gone. So, they're flying some stuff up there that we don't know about. And I think they're becoming more and more bold, as it were.
Getting ready to unveil the secret, baby.